Well, thanks for joining me here on the wonderful floor out of Med 2024. I had to check the date in my head because I'm already thinking about 2025 in San Diego next year. But thanks for joining. Plus, you all got me up too early this morning. That 7:15 start date.
Something tells me you're up early every morning, Jeff.
But really good job.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, both of you now have transitioned from military over to the med device field, and different pathways. Everybody's pathway is different, but I was really moved by everybody's story. I think we had 6 or 7 people on the stage this morning about their pathways here. So if you wouldn't mind sharing your pathway from military, respiratory therapist, now in consulting firm.
Yeah, and it's always a hard one to sell, right? I worked as a combat medic and a respiratory therapist in the Army for 8 years. After deployment, I took the cheat code, continued in respiratory and civilian. I did so because of what you mentioned earlier, right? My path was already created for me and I thought, I'll stay on it. It was working in civilian healthcare that activated a curiosity in me. Why were different organizations or different units in the hospital functioning differently and how it impacted patient outcomes? So I got my bachelor's and master's in industrial organization psychology and really wanted to consult and help organizations align policies and procedures so it could benefit the employees and benefit the patients. My first consulting role was with J&J at Greencastle, and I was thoroughly impressed with being able to make an impact. Really breaking from healthcare industry into consulting was my biggest challenge. Really impacted the way I saw myself and what I could do outside of what I've been told I could do.
Yeah, and I want to explore that path with you after Marc shares his journey to where we are today at military, and then what were some of the challenges you had? What should employers know about the team players that come from military, et cetera? So Marc, your traveled path to MedTech.
Yeah, so my path is a little unique in that midway through my military career, I took a break. At about 12 years, I got out of the Navy, and I knew nothing about the MedTech environment, but I had a really close friend who was in the environment, and they were hiring a role where I lived, and through networking with him, he honestly, helped push me into it, because the first couple of times he brought it up to me, I had told him, I'm good, I'm not an OR guy, I'm not a sales guy, and you have a stigma about it. And I was like, I'm good. He said, well, you'll be successful doing it. You should give it a shot. So after a couple more conversations, I decided, all right, we'll give it a shot. And I did, and I ended up in the vascular world. And the first trip in the OR, I'll never forget it. We were supposed to go in and put a stent in, and I walked into the cath lab and found a guy's chest cracked wide open, heart beating, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so new, I don't even know what was happening, right? I did not pass out, and so I said, okay, I can survive in an OR. And then as time moved on and I learned how to build relationships, I felt like, okay, I can also do this sales thing, because it's not sales that you're really providing, right? It's patient service, and when you look at it from that outcome, then it's a much different conversation that you have with people, and you walk through the door with a different mindset. I ended up being brought back into the military. I ended up retiring from that, but I always knew from that moment that I wanted to get back into the MedTech industry. I enjoyed the atmosphere that an operating room brought. I enjoyed the outcome-driven procedures that happened. I enjoyed working with a team of people. In the military, you have your team of people and you have a mission, right? And when you believe in the mission and you trust the team, you have success. And for me, being in an operating room and being part of this MedTech industry, it's very similar to that. I have a team of people with me that are in the OR, and the outcome and the success that we're looking for is the success to get that patient off the table for whatever that procedure is. And so those two lines paralleled very similar to me and hit me at the core for who I am as an individual and what I'm looking to have, and that makes me happy in life.
What I want to do today is I want to speak to those that are counting on transitioning out of military and into industry. And I'm going to be selfish and say into the MedTech industry, because it's scenario specific where we are today.
Yeah.
So, what were you thinking about when you made that transition? What were your fears? What didn't you know that you know today? How important was a mentor to you? So start Start with you.
Yeah, I'll start with the mentor. The mentor was key for me. My mentor was Sarah Blewett, and she helped me identify the things that I did in the military that just felt very everyday, right? In the military, I saw a problem, I helped create a solution. Sarah really translated that into industry-specific wording. In the military, we have our own language. In the medtech industry, there is another language. And for veterans out there, it's learning how to translate your military language to civilian, and finding a mentor that will help you network and see your own value. A lot of service members are very humble. We show up because we're told to show up, and we do our best because people are really leaning on us to do so. Having someone to say, you doing your best is actually really impressive, was reassuring and helped build a comfortability and confidence to go into that industry and say, I haven't done that yet, but I absolutely can do it.
How did you feel walking out of a highly disciplined, regimented, predictable environment? Again, like I said this morning, from the clothes to the food to the where you slept, etc., into a brand new world of high performers. And what were your biggest, retrospectively, what were your biggest, best moves you made, worst moves you made?
Yeah, so I was lucky in being in healthcare because it is rapidly changing and highly unpredictable. So I had the structure and support of a military background, but the agile mindset of a healthcare setting. So for me, the biggest benefit was finding a mentor and really relying on their words and trusting in their experience. My biggest downfall was undercutting what I was capable of and not seeing the value in some of the work that I had done in the service. So for me, it was hard, right, to learn who I am outside of the role, outside of the uniform, outside of the stethoscope, and learn to be who I am as an adult in the medical technology industry.
How about your road? I mean, what did you keep on hearing that you knew wasn't true? And eventually you clearly overcame, but what did you keep hearing and how did you manage that?
Yeah, so one of the things that you keep hearing about this industry is it's one, it's just hard to penetrate, and then two, it's all about who you know. And while I was in the industry for a little bit, it had changed so much from those 10 years that I was in to what it is now that that it was very difficult initially to one, learn how to network and how to grow your network that you have, and just learn to meet people in a different way, right? I was fortunate, I commissioned midway through my career, and so at the end of it all, you got to put your rank away and put your pride away and really just open yourself up in a manner that is not easy the longer you're in the military. The longer you're in, you're making decisions, you're in charge of people, and you don't really have to explain yourself to a lot of people. Coming back into this industry, it was very different. There was questions that were being asked that they were the right questions that needed to be asked of me so that I could prepare better to go back in the industry, but they may not have always been the questions that I was fully ready to answer. Right? It's not always easy to discuss some of your successes and your mistakes. And so being able to do that and articulate that in a way that made you feel good about yourself was unique.
It was pointed out this morning on the dais when you were all up there chatting, rarely in the military is I or me appropriate, it's we and us.
Yeah.
Yet in an interview process, it's important to hear we and us, but you also have to turn on a little more I and me than you're accustomed to.
Yeah.
So, did you struggle with that at all?
I still struggle with that. Even when I'm sending out emails to teams, it's we at the, right? I struggle with the I mentality. It takes a team to get anything across the line. So it's something I'm still working on, and I appreciate the call out.
But here's what's interesting is you'll take full ownership for outcomes.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. There are people who are the, I don't want to do the I and me because I don't want any responsibility. But that's not the case most of the time with our military vets.
Right.
It's I have full responsibility, it's all on me, and I'm not going to take full credit because it was a squad behind me. Even if you play back this last 14 minutes we've spent, both of you kept on saying part of a team, part of a team, part of a team, part of a squad, and that really attractive. So Marc, what were yours about the things you did really well, and then the things that if you had to redo, you would have done?
So if I had to redo it all, I would spend more time prepping for the networking and prepping for the interview process in and of itself. The interview process in this industry, in my opinion, is like no other. And so I would spend more time with that and being able to close out with those I statements that let them know that you're confident in who you are and the successes that you have made throughout your career, even though it is a team mentality. And so if I could go back and redo it, that would be able to talk about yourself more. It's not always easy, but you have to be able to do it. And us in the military, even when I hear people now talking and they use I when you know it's a we, like in the back of my mind, I'm like, no, it's not always an I. It wasn't an I with that one. And so I would say for me, that would be the biggest thing, is to learn how to use the I statements a little bit more.
And then what are you thankful for that you absolutely counted on during that interview time and the pursuit of your career now?
I'm thankful for every challenge that I had along the way and the people that I could reach out to when I felt like I misstepped in an interview, people that I could reach out to and just ask, hey, how would you answer this different? How would you do that? What would you do different in this scenario? One thing that's also nice about my background in the military is everything we did after a mission involved a debrief. And so we talked about all of the successes and the things that we needed to work on for the next mission. And so it was easy for me to do that. And so I'm thankful for the mentors that I had that I could reach out to help prepare me for the next one.
So final word, you're getting a chance to chat with those who are going to follow you. They're transitioning out. They're about ready to step onto the playing field. They're going to be reaching out to MedTechVets. So what would you share with them as they start this journey?
Oh, that's such a good question. I would share, find what made you passionate in the service. What did you love most about the position you were in or what you were doing? What did you find yourself most passionate accomplishing? And stay with that, and then find roles that mirror that and marry that as a strong skill set. So if you're passionate about problem solving, find something that accompanies that. If you're passionate about team and providing a beneficial outcome, then find something that aligns with that. Learn the industry that you're familiar with and read job descriptions and see how that speaks to you and how your transferable skills can match that.
Your share?
Yeah, I would say you get in it, or you get out of it what you put into it. And so there's a lot of people that are willing to take the time and the energy and the effort to help make them grow and be ready for the medtech industry when they separate and transition out of the military. But none of that matters if they're not going to put in the work and the effort that is required to be successful in this industry. And it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of effort to be successful. And so if that's what they want, then go at it full force and give it everything you got.
It's always impressive to me as we finish up. When I do that, usually the last cohort, I'm always asked to help support on the MedTechVets, and I go through, usually there's about 15 to 20 people per sit, and the aspirations of what people really, at that point, believe what they want. And I look at it and go, you're going to have to put in a damn bunch of work to go from current state to future state. And then like you, I see a year later or 2 years later, I'm like, damn, they put the work in, because there was no line of sight to that anyway. So it's true, is it can be realized if you will just never quit, put in the intelligent work and learn from every experience. So I really thank both of you for spending time with me this morning and representing MedTechVets today in this morning's sessions.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Really appreciate it.
I'm Joe Mullings from the floor of the MedTech Conference, Toronto 2024. Be well.